What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. I always got to start off the video by saying all glory goes to God. But today I thought it'd be fun to share why I chose Muay Thai over some of the other combat sports and martial arts disciplines out there. I also want to say that I have nothing but respect for other martial arts out there, and they all have, their years of tradition, culture, and all that. But, I just think that Muay Thai is more effective than these martial arts. And again, these are just my personal opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean they're true or not, and feel free to disagree with me. I also want to say that I'm not going to include every single martial art, just the more commonly practiced ones, because there's too many martial arts to list and all that. But I'm going to start off with boxing. Obviously, boxing, they have the best hands in the game, and it is the foundation of literally every single striking art out there. It doesn't matter what it is. Boxing, that's it. The basic striking fundamentals, right? But I did not choose boxing for a few reasons, and the biggest one, primarily, honestly, is brain damage and CTE. There's a massive correlation and huge study that was done about boxing that had boxing was the highest risk, right, of getting brain damage, nervous system damage, and CTE compared to other combat sports. And honestly, there's total merit behind that. I mean, the way boxing is structured, especially if it's like a title fight or a championship fight, 12 rounds, it is crazy to me. And even in preliminary cards and like that, 4 to 10 rounds is still a lot of time. And that's a lot of time to get those subconcussive blows that, again, really make sure that that CTE develops and really damages the nervous system, right? So that was one of honestly, the biggest factors of why I didn't choose boxing, was the amount of brain damage and CTE that you're likely to get. Obviously, every single combat sport, there is that likelihood of getting CTE or brain damage, but just the level that is so much higher to get in boxing, because of how the rules are structured and all that. Even like getting up after counts, there's not a limit to that anymore, where you can just get up, as long as you're still apparently lucid, and you can kind of just go back into the fight, right? And again, that'll prolong and get more damage to the brain and nervous system. Another reason why is I'm not really a big fan of the boxing culture. I find it very toxic, whether just the fight fans, or I'm not to say that other martial arts disciplines are, their fan culture is not toxic, but specifically even just their gym culture and their sparring culture, right? So there's unfortunately a little while ago, this teenage girl, I don't know her exact age, but she was actually killed in Mexico, hard sparring, facing off against this guy that was like twice her size and had like 3 times her experience. She'd only been going to the gym for, I think it was like almost like 2 to 3 months or something like that, and she was sparring against, I'm not sure if he was like an amateur fighter. I know that he had years of experience on her though, and she's a teenage girl getting whooped by this massive dude with years of boxing experience. Obviously, the police said they're going to look into the incident, right, and kind of go from there, whatever that means. But I mean, that type of environment, right, like, it shouldn't be a thing. I know that the head coaches and the boxing staff said that they are going to look into and also investigate if there was malfeasance or negligence. Obviously there was. No one should be dying from a sparring session, because of brain trauma. But that's, how boxing culture is. And there's plenty of boxing gyms, that still promote that old style, like, hey, you have to hard spar, you have to do this, right? And that's very damaging for your long-term health. I've made videos about sparring before, right? I don't think that hard sparring is necessary at a high volume. Obviously, especially if you're looking to compete, even at an amateur level, right? It's good to hard spar at least a few times. That way you can kind of gauge, okay, this is how tight I have to have my guard, or just to expect, some hard blows, obviously, right? But again, just how the way the boxing culture is, how it promotes hard sparring, stuff like that, that just really, really turned me off from boxing. And you know, it's just like, lastly, with boxing, I think the final nail in the coffin for me was, it's been said that, boxing is an effective martial art to learn, especially in a street fight or self-defense scenario. And while that may be true, and I've definitely seen videos that can back that statement up, why not use all the tools of your arsenal, right? In Muay Thai, there's elbows, there's knees, there's kicks, there's the clinch, there's sweeping, right? There's dumping. And in boxing, that's not a thing. You don't get taught that. So why not use every tool in your arsenal, right? And especially in a self-defense scenario or in a street fight. Obviously, I would never want to get in a street fight ever. But if and when that time came, I want to be able to use every single tool I have in order to defend my family or myself, regardless of the situation. So the next one I wanted to talk about was Taekwondo. Honestly, Taekwondo is very impressive to me. The kicks are super flashy. They're very cool. The athletic ability of these athletes is insane for Taekwondo, especially they're super cool, like spinning kicks and stuff like that. But that being said, at the same time, I feel like its flashiness kills its effectiveness. Not to say that Taekwondo isn't an effective martial art, but I mean, there's been countless of comparisons of, Taekwondo versus Muay Thai, what's better. And there's also been, many fight promotions professionally that, have pitted practitioners of Muay Thai and Taekwondo together in a professional ring setting. And I have never not seen Muay Thai come out on top. That's just the hard truth, hard pill to swallow, especially for Taekwondo guys. But, that's what it is. I think, Taekwondo is very cool, and some of the kicks are very, cool and flashy. But I've also heard, that Taekwondo has the coolest kicks, but Muay Thai has the most effective kicks. And I kind of tend to agree with that statement. And also, take with a grain of salt, this is totally kind of irrelevant information. But there have been several actually Taekwondo practitioners that have come to the Muay Thai gym where I train at and have stated that Muay Thai is much more effective than martial art. Obviously, that is totally from their perspective, so take that with a grain of salt, but there you go. The next one I wanted to talk about was karate. Now, karate does have, its place as martial arts. It's very, very deeply rooted in history. I would honestly say that probably karate, I think, is it's safe to say that it is one of the most practiced martial arts disciplines out there in the world. But just like Taekwondo, I feel like there's some massive holes in the game as far as technique and ability, right? I feel like karate is very effective as a martial art, as something to learn for self-defense, especially, if it's against someone who doesn't know how to fight. I feel like karate is very effective with those people, but pitted against other people in other martial arts disciplines that have been training for a while, know how to use it, I don't think karate fits the bill that well. Obviously, there's been kind of a surge in karate to improve its legitimacy. Like, obviously, there's karate combat and whatnot, which is cool to see. But again, as far as its effectiveness, especially compared to other martial arts, I just don't think it's there. Similarly, again, to Taekwondo, I'm not really a big fan of the stance, how the kicks are, stuff like that. Again, I feel like it just gives them some holes in their game that, can be easily taken advantage of compared to many other martial arts. But I think, it is good to provide, especially for young kids, that discipline, to teach them, at a young age, kind of how to fight in self-defense. I do think that karate is very good for that. But yeah, that's that. Now, for the next one, I'm going to clump these two together, and I'm definitely probably going to get some slack for this, especially some of my friends that practice BJJ. But I'm going to clump wrestling and BJJ together, even though I am hyper aware that they are very different disciplines. But obviously they're both, grappling and ground-based. I didn't choose these particularly because I don't really have a desire to kind of have a ground-focused defense game. whether that be for competition or in a self-defense scenario. Not saying that they're not effective in any way, shape, or form. It's just that I want to primarily learn striking. And I would argue that even against Muay Thai, I would probably argue that wrestling and BJJ are the biggest counters to the stance of Muay Thai. And that's often said that, like the biggest flaw with Muay Thai is the stance that wrestlers and BJJ practitioners could, just because of how the stance footwork is, technically, take down and eat alive a Muay Thai fighter. But again, my focus is mainly on striking, and apart from the martial discipline of Lethwei, I would say that Muay Thai is the most complete striking art. And again, BJJ and wrestling just don't fit that mold for me. But again, not to sleep on wrestling or BJJ. It's just not in my particular forte or desire to learn at the exact moment. Next one is judo. Now, I'm not gonna lie, judo is my next martial art I have a desire to learn. I love judo. I respect the crap out of judo. I think it is an amazing martial art to learn. It is an amazing for self-defense just because of what judo utilizes, especially with takedowns and stuff like that. Especially because it utilizes the clothing as well and the gi and whatnot. I mean, even BJJ takes elements of takedowns and stuff like that from judo, right? So that says something. And Khabib Nurmagomedov, the undefeated UFC champion and pure, Dagestani wrestling legend, completely swears by judo, has the utmost respect for judo. And I'm honestly right there alongside him. Judo is an amazingly effective martial art to learn, and it will be my next martial art. Honestly, can't say enough about judo. It's just that, again, my primary focus was striking, but judo is and will be a martial art that I will be learning in the very near future. And also, if you ever look at Olympic judokas, they are crazy athletic, crazy strong, just jacked. And it's because of all that core work that they do, and just judokas are crazy strong, and I have crazy amounts of respect for them. So yeah. Now, the last one I wanted to mention was kickboxing. Kickboxing would be my closest second choice, but that saying, close but no cigar. There's a reason why I chose Muay Thai over kickboxing, even though I love kickboxing. I follow kickboxing like crazy. I love watching the kickboxing promotions like Glory, K1, even One Championships Kickboxing is awesome to watch. And I also follow some of the lower promotions like Rise, ISK, A, but it was a close second. But again, not saying close but no cigar. I'm gonna kind of attest it to boxing, right? It's definitely more effective than boxing in my opinion, because obviously you're utilizing kicks and knees, but you're not, again, utilizing all of your talents, all of your potential, right? In kickboxing, there's no elbows. In kickboxing, the knees are restricted, right? You can't grab. It's just kind of like those spear knees. There's no clinch, there's no dumping, there's no sweeping. And it's just, again, same thing like I say with boxing. Why limit yourself? Why not utilize, all aspects, right, of your self-defense, especially in a self-defense scenario or whatever, right? Obviously, it's very common for Muay Thai fighters to kind of transition to kickboxing and vice versa because the sports are so similar. But again, why not learn to do those crazy elbows? Why not utilize those crazy knees and in the clinch and stuff like that? Why not learn to use the dump and the sweep and stuff like that? So obviously, it's very close, but it's just not complete in my eyes. So anyways, that's all I had for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you agree with me or not. And also, let me know what martial art discipline you started out with. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great day. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm out. Peace.